is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What exactly is it that we do?
We get the people what they want.
LeBron James did the classic tweet and then delete. We will hear from Aaron Rodgers, but we start with the Olympic Games. Team USA is now in the gold medal game. After a rocky start, they beat Australia. France beat Slovenia. So we now have the gold medal match. Jalen, if you recall, they lost to France earlier in group play. What do you think about this gold medal game?
You heard Rant, man. I'm out for the gold, and after that, the platinum. Woo, legendary bars. Here's the thing for Team USA. Kevin Durant was huge in the second half. After being down double digits, it don't matter if it was 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4, 1 versus 5. He turned into KD at the Rucker back in the day when he had over 60, and he had eyes on the prize, and he was not gonna allow us to lose. That's what propelled us to actually get to this point. Now, since we at this point, gotta find a way to slow down the Knicks 48. Gotta find a way to keep Rudy Gobert off the boards. Like, they beat us before. So for your prediction of a guaranteed gold medal to happen, those are two things in particular we gotta make sure we take care of.
Absolutely. I expect the U.S. to win this game, but I'm glad you mentioned Kevin Durant because he has been absolutely phenomenal for Team USA. And because the Bucks were so dominant against the Suns, winning 4 straight games, we almost forget just how good Kevin Durant was in that Nets-Bucks series. This has been a great summer for Kevin Durant, a great bounce-back year, and I expect him to carry this momentum from Tokyo into the new season, which is going to start in like 3 weeks. Like, it's going to start. It really is. New season's going to start soon, and I expect the Nets to be on top of the Eastern Conference, powered by that man, Kevin Durant.
We normally have an NBA champion once every 12 months. Well, this year we had 2 in almost 9 months. And I agree with you, this has been a great summer and playoff for KD. But the regular season is going to start in October. So it's going to be interesting for me, not necessarily the Nets, but the entire NBA, in particular contending teams, how they respond to the short offseason.
Well, this has been a short offseason, but it's been very busy for the Los Angeles Lakers. They added a lot of new pieces, and we might have mentioned here on this program and many other programs have pointed out that some of those new pieces are a little old new pieces. LeBron James took to Twitter to fire back at the critics, and here is what he said. Keep talking about my squad, our personal ages, the way he plays, he stays injured, we're past our prime in this league, etc., etc., etc. Do me one favor, please, and I mean please, keep that same narrative energy when it begins. That's all I ask. Thank you. Jalen, he later deleted this. Why do you think he went with the tweet and delete?
LeBron, you know how much I love him. Here's the deal, David Jacoby. So put that tweet back up there if it's okay. So are we allowed to acknowledge that the Lakers have the oldest team on paper in the history of the league? Are we allowed to actually just say that? Is that okay? Are we allowed to point out a fact that Anthony Davis and or LeBron James, likely due to injury or load management, won't play 82 games this year? Is that okay? And last but certainly not least, I'm glad he didn't use the term hating, but that's what is construed by so many people, and you've heard me say this for a decade. This generation uses the term hating incorrectly, okay? Just because I may disagree with you or have a differing opinion than yours, it does not mean that I'm hating. And also, is LeBron playing victim? Hold on. So let me get this right. The favorite, LeBron James, who went to Miami, played with Bosh and Wade, went to Cleveland, played with Kyrie and Love, came to LA and played with AD, and now remade his roster to where he got an MVP like Russ and a scorer Hall of Famer like Melo. So the Lakers the underdog?
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
What we doing here, Jacoby?
He's now saying, look at us, we're the underdogs. People are doubting us. Like, no one's doubting you, LeBron. Matter of fact, if you look at the Las Vegas odds for who's going to win the championship, the Lakers are right up there with the Nets. They are not underdogs. They are favorites. They are favorites. They are the favorites to come out of the West. They've got Hall of Famers up and down the roster. They've got shooting. They've got defense. They've got a player at every position. Like, no one is doubting you, LeBron James. You are not the underdogs. It's actually the exact opposite of that. But I love the way he does this. He really does control the narrative. And he even used the word narrative in his tweet that he was controlling as well. Oh, I love this Lakers team so much. I do have them coming out of the Western Conference. I'm not doubting you, LeBron. You are the favorite to win the conference. No one is doubting you. Well, Jalen Rose from one superstar MVP to another. This time, we turn our attention again to Wisconsin, where Aaron Rodgers said this about his relationship with the general manager of the Packers.
Well, I think it's a work in progress for sure. I mean, I think, relationships aren't formed in a matter of a couple days.
He's gone. Aaron Rodgers is gone. He is gone. He redid his whole contract to guarantee this would be his last year in Green Bay. Jalen, what do you think about the work in progress in his relationship with the GM?
Well, here's the thing that I think works against the Green Bay Packers is because they're a publicly traded team, it seems like they don't have that one voice that could have cut through all of the noise and either basically made it known that we rather have Aaron Rodgers than this general manager who just took Jordan Love in the first round. Like, Matt LaFleur is a terrific young coach, and he and Aaron Rodgers have had some magic happen on the field these last couple of years. And Green Bay is a contending team. They also have a terrific defense. So in theory, for him to leave his situation and the general manager stays, to me, that's a dereliction of duty by the organization and those around it in decision-making processes. You keep Aaron Rodgers, you get rid of the GM, and it seems like they're doing it backwards.
It really does. I can't remember another star player of this caliber so clearly leaving their team outside of Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, which is the exact image that he and Adams synchronized, basically tweeted at the same time. That's what happened. I can't think of another MVP caliber talent that is so obviously going to leave their team. Can you?
I'm going to keep reminding you, the Golden State Warriors won the championship, and Bob Myers joked about Kevin Durant joining the bandwagon. Everybody knew that he was going to leave the Golden State Warriors. We were lining up and naming teams on the East Coast that he was going to head towards. So that did happen with KD. And it's not just Aaron Rodgers, by the way. It's also Devontae Adams, a wide receiver #1.
That's a good point. I mean, if they go through this season and lose Adams and Rodgers for little or nothing, it would be so surprising. They've really fumbled this. Just give Aaron Rodgers what he wants. He's the MVP. Give him what he wants. He wants more money. He wants more guaranteed years. Just give it to him. It'll be so sad to see Jordan Love under center for the Green Bay Packers next year, but it'll be a lot of fun to see Aaron Rodgers in a different uniform. Jalen, it is time to celebrate one of our favorite athletes on the planet. Show me some Shohei. Shohei Ohtani was on the mound, and again, he was just dealing. Jalen Anthony Rose, he has a 1.38 ERA since July 1st. That is the best in Major League Baseball with 25 innings pitched.
I'm going to make sure I point out the thing that makes Shohei extremely cold. He's ambidextrous, dog. He's batting with his left hand, and he's pitching with his right hand. This gentleman is incredible. And we didn't need him to be at the home run derby to show him love on this program. We didn't need the 100-mile-an-hour fast balls to be striking out batters to show him love on this program. You know why? We saw greatness from the beginning. And he's healthy this year. Remember, they were trying to we don't really want you to pitch and bat. Maybe he should do one or the other. He dealt with some injuries earlier in his career. Now all of a sudden he's putting it all together so very young. He's going to be a phenomenal player for another decade or so.
Jalen, is he a lock for the most valuable player in MLB?
Lock. This year, next year, and the year after that. Dog, he amongst the league leaders in home runs and ERA. Period. Period. Comma.
Well, something tells me that he will be the MVP of the American League. Jalen Rose, when we come back. Andre Drummond, former Piston, is now a Philadelphia 76er, and there was an awkward embrace between him and Joel Embiid. We'll show you that right after this.
It was a magical one for him and the New York Knicks that they might not embody again. There might not be another season where he's top 4 or 5 MVP candidate, winning most improved player, the Knicks hosting a playoff series. Those things might not be happening in the near future. But at the same time, getting 117 now versus getting 200 in the offseason, that's a deal for the Knicks. So now the deals that you felt like you didn't like as a Knicks fan, in particular the Fournier one, you add both of those deals together, that's Julius Randle's deal that he could have gotten. So that's actually a win for your Knickerbockers, as they also added Kemba Walker this offseason.
Yep, Walker, Fournier, they brought back Burks, they brought back Derrick Rose. It's interesting with this Knicks team because Julius Randle had such a good year and he was making tough shots. He was making contested tough shots, getting his own buckets. I would love to see them take a next step, but as we've been covering the last few days on this program, Eastern Conference got a lot better from top to bottom. Some tells me that this Knicks team might be in the playoffs, but they will have to play in to get to the playoffs because the Eastern Conference is stacked. And one of those teams that looks to be at the top of the Eastern Conference are the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons still on the Philadelphia 76ers. However, they did add Andre Drummond. And if you remember, Embiid and Drummond have a little bit of a history. And here's how the introductory embrace went between the two of them. Tell us what Mr. Embiid is thinking.
I'll tell you what he's thinking. For real, I'm going to go and be phony right now. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? I remember what you said, dog, but it's all good. Hey, Joel and Andre, I love both of those guys. If this will make everybody feel better, I learned as I started to get older, most of the people that give you daps and hugs are actually looking and feeling like that, whether you see it on their face or not.
Yeah, I just love the idea that he can't hide how he really feels. He can't even put on a fake smile for 2 seconds while the cameras are on to introduce Andre Drummond to the team. Because these two have gone back and forth, and Joel Embiid has gotten the best of Drummond throughout his career. So it'll be interesting to see these two go at it in practice. But Jalen, elephant in the room, is Ben Simmons going to be on this team this year? Is there a deal out there for Ben Simmons?
I believe Ben Simmons is on this team this year, Jacoby, because it's really tricky. He's an all-NBA caliber performer. He's been that. Third team. He's an all-defensive candidate. He's in the top 2 or 3 this season. He's a triple-double threat. He's 6'10", and he's a locomotive in transition. But then when you look down for the asking price, it's wait a minute. You first rounds? Another star player in return? It's wait a minute, we can't necessarily pull that deal together to satisfy you, Philly. So it's going to be interesting for them as the East continues to improve and the process continues to get lower in the Eastern Conference standings. If they're going to decide to just make a move because they have the opportunity to, or they're going to hold out and then all of a sudden Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, who we both know occupy the same real estate in theory when they're at their best on the floor, won't necessarily coexist as a championship duo.
Another improved team in the Eastern Conference or in the nation's capital, they assigned Spencer Dinwiddie to the Wizards. What do you think about the addition of Dinwiddie to the Wizards, and how does that affect Bradley Beal?
You know that's my guy right there, fam. You and I done sat at Nets games, and I'm that's one the Pistons let get away. I said the same thing about Chris Middleton. I promise y'all, when this season starts, this guy right here is going to be the surprise underrated signing by any team. They let Russ and his salary go to add Dinwiddie, and his productivity is going to pick right up, and he and Bradley Beal are going to be fantastic in the East. Mark my words. And lastly, Kyle Kuzma plays with them, right? Don't Kyle Kuzma play with the Washington Wizards now?
I think so.
Okay, he's going to get buckets this year. And I know a lot of people saw him in LA, and he had to adjust to a role. That's what happens when you're not the superstar player. But when your minutes in the front court are suppressed with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it's just not going to be as many shots. So now playing in a wide open system, mark down Kyle Kuzma for 20 plus right now.
Really?
Right now, mark down Kyle Kuzma. Remember I told you, the Washington Wizards are part of that Eastern Conference resurgence, Jacoby, and Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Kuzma are going to be big parts along with Bradley Beal.
If you are Bradley Beal, do you think that he is happier with this current roster than he was last year with Russell Westbrook on the team?
They're better, so yes. And also, he's going into the final year of his contract. So we're not going to have to wonder how he feels. He's going to show us, like the Greek freak, invested in the Bucks and he stayed. Julius Randle invested in the Knicks and he stayed. So did Steph Curry and Trae Young. So if he wants to be there, again, that's what he will do. Otherwise, they'll try to move him for fair value.
Jalen, Dan Campbell has yet to coach a single game for the Detroit Lions, but he's already given us some really interesting press conference moments, and the latest is no different. Let's listen to how Dan Campbell just starts his day.
Normally what I do is I'll get two venti. I go to, Starbucks, I get two venti of the pike with 2 shots in them. So black eye in both. That's what I come in with. That's how I start the day.
Jalen, that is an absolute insane amount of caffeine. Again, 2 venti, that's 20-ounce coffees with 2 shots in them. That's 40 ounces of coffee with 4 espresso shots. What is wrong with this man?
Little known Jalen fact, I do 0 tobacco and I do 0 caffeine. 0. So for him to already be like on edge, almost like a WWE fighter, a former tight end for the Lions, you know what? I got to get to one of those practices. You know what? I got to get to one of those practices. Hey, coach, I got you. Now that I know your order, I'm going to bring it to you at practice, coach. I got you.
Jalen, the amount of caffeine in that, I wouldn't sleep for a week. Like, I would not sleep for a week. I'd probably have to be hospitalized. Like, I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning, but I'll have like one of these. Just a little cup of Joe to give me some pep in my step. That dude is out here drinking a full 40 ounces of coffee with 4 shots of espresso. Jalen, we have a football game tonight. An NFL football game tonight between the Steelers and the Cowboys. Don't expect to see too many starters, but that won't keep me